Vietnam's GDP grows by 5.18% in the first half of this year. Responsible tourism for long-term development. Of this year. Those are the highlights in the economic scene for the past week. Up next, we'll talk about the prospects of responsible tourism in Vietnam in our crosstalk. In the next 20 minutes, we'll talk about a trend or practice in tourism that is vital for the sector in crisis management and develop sustainably in the long term. That is responsible tourism. We have here in our studio Mr. Kai Partale, a specialist of SRT Project, which stands for Environmentally and Socially Responsible Tourism Capacity Development Program funded by European Union. But first, let's start with a report on Vietnamese tourism sector in the first half of 2014. According to research by the Department of Tourism under the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism, Vietnam welcomed 4.2 million international tourists in the first half of 2014, a 21.11% increase compared with the same period last year. Also, there were 23.4 million domestic tourists, an increase of 6.9%, and revenue from tourism reached $5 billion, a year-on-year increase of 22.5%. The period breakdown shows a growth in the number of international tourists coming to Vietnam in the first 4 months of this year, thanks to the country's efforts to promote itself as a safe and friendly destination with numerous international events. However, since early May, tension in the EC caused by China's illegal acts have had a dampening effect on Vietnamese tourism. The number of international visitors, especially Chinese-speaking tourists, has dipped, affecting the sector overall. In response to this situation, the Vietnamese tourism sector has developed a strategy of crisis management and sustainable development, focusing on communication and training in responsible tourism. Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. First of all, what's the definition of responsible tourism?
You hear a lot about responsible tourism when you talk about codes of conducts or energy efficiency, corporate social responsibility. But when you look closer in the issue, it's nothing really new to it. Responsible tourism offers a pathway to minimize negative impacts of tourism and create positive challenges. So that can go into supporting the local environment and society through responsible actions. It fosters a viable long-term benefits for the industry, for the businesses, and it attracts also tourists with this safe and stable tourism environment. Responsible tourism requires all of us to work together, from managers to staff and through to government authorities. So all of these stakeholders need to take care and part in the responsible tourism development for the industry.
Mm-hmm. You said the concept of responsible tourism is not a new one. So how long has the concept been around?
It has been around for quite a while, like the United Nations World Tourism Organizations in 1988. They already defined the sustainable tourism concept. So the problem is more that the governments have historically struggled to achieve growth in tourism and, in the same time, sustainability to it. So this is when the Responsible Tourism concept came into place, where it actually gives you more a concept to responsibility that everyone in the industry needs to take a part of it.
Could you give us some example that distinguish tourism from responsible tourism?
Yes, when you look at the mainstream tourist, you imagine it's a tourist that goes to a resort, maybe wholly foreign owned, and he bought a package also maybe from a foreign tour operator. The mainstream tourist doesn't interact a lot with the local community. And on the opposite, you have the responsible traveler that might interact more with the locals, goes and stays in hotels which are more run locally, and interacts also with the environment better through the activities, walking, climbing, hiking, cycling. So you have different forms of traveler. Here you might look at a mainstream operator that looks at profit in the first place. Talking about large-scale resorts, you would imagine, okay, that might be an example of not being responsible. But when the resort employs local people and creates training opportunities for the staff, isolates the rooms well, and has maybe a recycling program in place, looks at the wastewater management, I wouldn't say that's irresponsible.
The practice of responsible tourism is already common practice in many countries and has resulted in positive outcomes for both the environment and the community. Let's look at the South Asian country of Bhutan, for example. The Bhutan Tourism Board requires a daily tariff which applies to all international visitors, so that the number of tourists visiting Bhutan is kept to an environmentally manageable level and is in accordance with the infrastructure's capacity. The government of Myanmar and the Myanmar Ministry of Hotels and Tourism issued a responsible tourism policy in September 2012, which regulates stakeholders in practicing responsible tourism. TripAdvisor has launched its Green Leaders scheme, which aims to identify hotels and B&Bs that are committed to green practices like recycling, water efficiency, and alternative energy.
So the key to responsible tourism is understanding and accepting responsibility. So whose responsibility is it?
Responsible tourism is all about making the travel and tourism forms more responsible. So everyone can take a part in it. For the employer, for example, he could look at gender balance policies or non-discrimination policies in the workplace. On the other side, invest into capacity building and staff enhancement. For the tourist, it's also about learning about cultural norms and traditions and not damaging the environment. So there's many actually stakeholders involved in the responsible tourism approach.
So what are the benefits of responsible tourism?
Responsible tourism has a strong business case to it. It can add value to your product. It saves you money, actually, by minimizing energy costs. It is something that the customer is already demanding for, as he sees and values the support for the local community and environment. So when you look at the reputation through responsible tourism actions, that in the long term can also add to the brand of your company and of your product, which then goes to repeat visitation for your company and increase sales.
So those are economic benefits. So what are the social and environmental benefits that responsible tourism can bring?
Well, looking at the social dimension, you have here the chance to keep the staff. It creates some pride in the business and motivation, which leads then back to better customer service and quality of the overall product. It also supports communities, the socially responsible tourism, and your business might be better accepted by the locals when you purchase locally from local suppliers, and that gives you also a good reputation within the community. You have on the other side the environment, of course, and I mean the main asset of tourism is to have its nature, right, and protecting the nature and investing even through responsible tourism projects into nature protection. I think this is something very important where responsible tourism can add something to it.
And now let's take a close look at Vietnam's case, where, as you know, Vietnam's economy is facing some certain difficulties, and Vietnam's tourism is also experiencing some decline in the number of international tourists coming to the country. Why is it important for Vietnam to promote responsible tourism in the country?
So the World Economic Forum, they have the Travel and Tourism Competitiveness Report, and they indicate that Vietnam needs to work in a sustainable way. Why is that so? Because it is a fairly new destination on the market, and it has naturally seen tourist growth. But it's like the product life cycle. You will also see a decline when you don't take care of the product. So adding to a high-quality product through responsible actions helps the tourism sector to grow further. Of course, there will be always some limitations once the sector emerges, but it all requires actions, and here responsible tourism could be a solution to it.
For a few years now in Vietnam, tours that are designed to include a real-life experience of local culture and traditions have attracted tourists. Some of the most popular activities include the Farming Experience Tour, where visitors homestay with local families and use services provided by locals, like this horse-drawn carriage tour in the Mekong Delta region. Tourists have an interesting experience. The local culture and tradition is promoted, and income is generated for the local community.
Environmentally friendly products tend to be more expensive than normal ones. Say hybrid cars are more expensive than the normal ones of the same size, same model. Is it the case to responsible tourism? Is it more expensive, more costly to implement responsible tourism than normal tourism?
Well, there's many actions that don't cost us a cent. So you can really already apply responsible tourism actions very quickly at no cost. It's more about changing mindsets of people, and that can take for quite a long time. Of course, when you invest into such forms in green technology for energy efficiency, then it is at the beginning expensive, but in the long term it will pay off. Then it adds also value to your product and to your brand, and makes possible repeat visitation, because the guests they are demanding for it, and they value also your efforts.
You have talked a lot about tour operators and tourism, other companies in the tourism sector. So how can we engage local community to contribute to responsible tourism?
It's all about effective management at destination level. Meaning you have to ensure that government authorities with communities and local stakeholders cooperate on destination management issues, such as visitor information or supply chains. And here I think we should not only focus on the short-term profit for businesses, but also look at means how to share profit through the supply chain, so that local communities also benefit from it. But on the other side, they also take part in showing their responsibility, and that can be achieved through collaborative forums in destination management, steering committees, or other legalized forms of coordination.
Tell us about your team's efforts in terms of capacity development in Vietnam's tourism industry when it comes to responsible tourism.
The EU program is responsible tourism program is aiming at building capacities in responsible tourism, right? So it is here to look at all elements of the service chain, starting from governments to businesses and also to tourists. And here we've developed a training seminar which aims at all these stakeholders and covers areas from product development, communication and marketing, responsible employment, to policy making, communities in action, and also responsible supply chain management. So these capacity building seminars are carried out through all Vietnam for communities and for tour operators and the accommodation sector, as well as for the authorities. So we have seen in many cases that, let's see, the low-end hospitality sector, they have no formal education in hospitality and tourism. So most of them don't know about these best practices. And it's about just showing good practice, and maybe the one and the other can make a positive change.
With an implementation period of 2011 to 2015, the Environmentally and Socially Responsible Tourism Capacity Development Programme, funded by the European Union, has a budget of 12.1 million euros. The project is targeting three main areas: policy support and institutional strengthening, product competitiveness and public-private partnerships, and vocational education and training in the tourism sector. Among these, the vocational and skill training seminars have been hugely successful. So far, they have been held in more than 20 provinces across Vietnam and have had a great impact on raising the awareness of both tourists and community members while promoting positive actions in each destination.
Trên thực tế thì không phải tất cả chúng ta đều có cái cơ hội để đến được với những cái cơ sở đào tạo về một cách bài bản và chuyên nghiệp, ví dụ như đến các trường đại học. Thế thì khi mà có một cái chính sách phát triển một cách rộng khắp và nó có cái tính chất lan tỏa, bởi vì ở đây các bạn sẽ nhìn thấy một thực tế, đấy là dự án xây dựng một cái năng lực là đào tạo thông qua các đào tạo viên. Và các đào tạo viên được trang bị về mặt kiến thức, được trang bị về mặt kiến thức nghề nghiệp, kỹ năng nghề nghiệp, và đặc biệt nữa là có một cái cách nhìn nhận về việc phát triển có du lịch có trách nhiệm. Thì như vậy thì chúng ta sẽ thấy là cái sức lan tỏa của nó sẽ lớn hơn, và nó không chỉ dừng lại ở những cái khu đô thị du lịch, nó không chỉ dừng lại ở các thành phố lớn, mà các đào tạo viên này nó sẽ có cái tính lan tỏa, nó sẽ đưa được ở những cái kiến thức mới này và những cái hiểu biết mới này về với các vùng sâu vùng xa.
After these seminars, the tour guides will then become tourism ambassadors who spread the word about socially and environmentally responsible tourism to visitors and local communities.
Tell us more about the ESRT project and what are the results that your team is expecting to see.
The ESRT program is working in three different areas: in institutional strengthening, competitiveness, and vocational education and training. And within all these areas, we try to incorporate responsible tourism strategies and practices. So we are looking here at the Vietnam tourism marketing strategy, for example, where we try to bring in also some responsibility, such as looking also at the domestic traveler and not only at international travelers. This is very important. It's a big market already. Then we have the area of destination management at local level, at provincial or interprovincial level. And we support here with public-private dialogue, bring stakeholders together and address key issues of sustainability. And here we already see some success.
Well, thank you very much for spending time with us today.
Thank you.
By 2015, tourism and travel is expected to become Vietnam's single largest player, contributing to approximately 15% of the national workforce and approximately 1.4 million direct jobs. Sustainable and responsible approach is vital to fully develop the sector while protecting the environment for our future generation. And that wraps up our Bizline this week. Thank you very much for being with us. You can go to vtv4.vn to see other programs. And goodbye for now from Hanoi.